Hey, it's your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. We are focusing in on why a psychopathic individual has a compulsive need to engage in high risk reward behavior. Why do they have such a need for greed? Why do they have such a need to violate others? Why do they have such a need to require an abnormal amount of stimulation? And that is because the psychopath has an exaggerated dopamine response. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which basically means a a small amount of liquid, or if you will, it's a cell. It's basically a neurotransmitter. It's what relays electronical information in the brain. So it is something that is released. It's like an impulse. It's something that you can view. Psychologists and neuroscientists can view neural activity, and it's electrical activity that is engaged in the brain, but it's basically completed by what we call a lot of neurotransmitters or fluids, chemicals in the brain, which are electric, as well as there's a fluid as well, a fluidity, a chemical which is released, a chemical reaction which is released. And so these chemical reactions within the body are responsible for things like thoughts, intellect, emotions, things of this nature. And the psychopath presents with an exaggerated dopamine response when they perceive something that they want. So if it's an individual, if it's a position, if it's sex, if it's the need to overpower and dominate, if it's a object, if it's just the need to dominate, which oftentimes can lead to violence and this high risk behavior, which causes them to cross the line where other people normally would not cross the line. It causes them to violate others where others normally would never violate others. It causes them to go behind the scenes and break covenants, break contracts, go into secret information or privileged information, or what we call hacking of computers or hacking of documents or things of this nature, which this is considered high-risk behavior because of their exaggerated dopamine response, which is responsible for the feeling of reward. So, for example, it's, once you attain a goal and you feel the pleasure, the exhilaration of having attained it, you feel a reward, you feel a sense of happiness or attainment. This is exaggerated. Almost neuroscientists are thought, to the tune of 4 times the amount of normal dopamine are released in the neural wiring of the psychopath, as it compares to the normal individual. And so they have this exaggerated dopamine response, and then coupled with a low serotonin, which serotonin is responsible for the feeling of contentment. So with a extreme sense of discontent, as well as what we call a natural low baseline of dopamine, which means at their resting state, that's called the baseline. At the resting state, the psychopath has a very low dopamine level, just naturally, normally in their everyday state. So they have a sense of boredom, restlessness, discontent. So they need to have this hyper-arousal. They have this discontent, this pathological boredom, if you will, where they constantly need to be seeking out new thrills, new exhilaration, new risky behaviors, new risky relationships. The more lines that they can cross, the more heart palpitations basically they get. The more gratifying they are. So we see, this propensity for them to try to break up marriages or, have this high-risk sexual experience in, violating children, violating animals, violating, physical territory where they want to do this behavior in high-risk settings, in the public, in front of people, making other people get agitated. They feel a sense of domination, power, and control. And this is also coupled with a testosterone, which it's also felt that they have an exaggerated testosterone oftentimes, which is resultant for a lot of that aggression. And so, and then coupled, then this basically overwhelms their system, and with a lack, which then basically within the psychopath, they have zero empathy, and it's only a mimicked empathy. So it's an empathy for show. So they might have, like an actor, you know, I mean, it's literally an acted empathy. And the thing is that a lot of people look at this as charming. So they tend to get like allured in. And then they kind of tend to abandon themselves. Almost, I would say viewers have asked this, you know, how is love bombing different from a psychopath versus a narcissist? Well, realize that this mimicked empathy or mimicked love or mimicked show of affection or things of this nature are oftentimes completely an act for this individual. So they don't really care about the individual. It is an act that they have learned by observation how to care for people. So they see basically, oh, there's people who like to hold hands in the garden. Why don't I act that out versus really feeling it? They will act this out, and then they will, you know, that's why the love bombing from a psychopath is very much coupled in a way that they will get very close very quickly. So, you know, they will open the doors for people. Let's, you know, go on this romantic walk. Why don't I take you to this park? Why don't we go to this garden? And then, you know, this love bombing is more what we call an enigma, or there's this puzzle, this feeling of being puzzled, enigmatic. They have an enigmatic charm, which means basically there's something very puzzling or fascinating which the individual who is being targeted can't quite figure out about them. They seem to be so romantic. They seem to say all these great alluring things. They tend to not be very afraid. They tend to not have anxiety when normally people would be anxious. They tend to not be affected when most people would be affected. So there's this basically captivating charm, based on this pathology. And they might outwardly look very intelligent. They don't look like a serial rapist. They don't look like a violent criminal. But yet there is something very criminal about these individuals because of the disrespect that they have of others, the law, humankind, human boundaries, and also the calculated, because of this inherent ability of them to mimic others and manipulate others through their observation, because they don't have a sense of caring. They don't have an ability to attach to others. They don't really love. They don't see love as a need. So that's why they tend to scoff at and look down on others who have this need for love. And furthermore, that's why they have no remorse or guilt or ability to learn from their past, because it just does not, it's not something that they need or are able to learn. They don't see any value in it. They have no conscience. And conscience means it's like what Freud would call the superego. It's like the wise teacher. It's like the individual who has wisdom, who's able to see what's going on. That's your higher consciousness. They are devoid of conscience, which means they have no conscience. It doesn't affect them. So that's why we do see the violent criminals who have no remorse or regret. They say the person was asking for it. The serial rapists, who, the same thing. They have no conscience. They don't feel any guilt. They don't feel any remorse. These people are sick. These people are criminals. And so that's why people, call them almost, fraudulent, because they, it's a very calculated, deliberate manipulation with which they allure and then capture and maintain this captured state of the individuals who they are with. And this then creates the gaslighting, the brainwashing, and then the psychological overwhelm that the people who are involved with them feel. They have been fed basically a very deliberate, it's like a dripping, almost a constant dripping of manipulation of the targets. So, and I know, a lot of you watching have experienced this or have been married or closely associated with this person for some time. And it can be very, very scary to detach from this overwhelm, to detach from this psychological twisting of, in a lot of ways. So you need to restore the balance, but realize that all of the pathology belongs to that individual. It does not belong to you. It is not who you are. It is not your natural state to be in this hyper-aroused, violated state. And if you had entered into the relationship with this person out of the name of love, or having basically fallen for this individual, realize, that you, unbeknownst to you, there are these types of people in the world, and that this is how they get by. They overwhelm and manipulate and take advantage of others, especially those who are very good people. And so, if you were targeted, it is because you had something that this individual had wanted. And so realize, though, it's time to take back your life. It's time to take responsibility back for who you are. It's time to go no contact with this individual and really do the clean slate. And I'm not saying, that you're never going to forget this person. You need to clean the slate. You need to get them out of your life. Even if you have a feeling or a propensity that if I only had them back in my life, I could explain things, or we could repair things, or we could make things right, or, we could, just share. No, let it go. You do not need to, if you were committed to this individual, and, you need to break this commitment, and there's nothing wrong to admit this feeling of basically defeat or having made a mistake. It's oftentimes in admitting that there, is this very hurtful individual, and realizing that you had made a mistake by trusting this wrong person with perhaps your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your soul. It's important to let them go. Let go of them 100% and forgive yourself for having trusted an individual, and say, I'm sorry. I had thought you were the answer, but I was wrong. I thought, this was love, but I was wrong. I thought this was romance, but I was wrong. I thought you were the answer to my life, but I was wrong. I thought you were a great leader, but I was wrong. I thought you were a great partner, but I was wrong. I thought you were a great mother, but I was wrong. I am a great person. I am loving, and I am kind, and I am sweet, and I am considerate, and I am generous, and I have a good heart, and I have a golden a sense about me as I emanate light in life. And light is love. Light is the feeling of peace and balance and harmony, and a feeling of joy and bliss. And these are furthermore states that cannot be experienced by a psychopath, because they have a neurotransmitter deficit, which requires them to dominate, control, and take advantage of others. And you will not experience this state with them. You will experience this state on your own, and you will attract now to your life others who also have the ability to create bliss, joy, and true happiness when you let them go and you remove them from your environment, in your mind, and in your soul, and in your heart 100%. And stay committed now to the filter and the learning and the wisdom that you have gained after being after encountering this type of individual. Realize it wasn't a real relationship, it was an encounter. And realize furthermore that you are now declaring boundaries and protective of yourself, and that you only let in those individuals who demonstrate and prove to you a sense of empathy and respect. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.